Welcome and thank you for joining us today. I'm Cristina Cuomo and this is the Purist Podcast. I'm a nutritionist, a mother of 3, and I'm obsessed with all things wellness, as evidenced by my media company, The Purist. Purist is a destination, and at Purist, wellness is a way of life and good health is your principal asset. We publish a print magazine 6 times a year, which you can subscribe to at thepuristonline.com. Our website, newsletters, and social media are chock full of information on the newest innovations in health, highlighting thought leaders in the wellness space, including doctors, innovators, spiritual leaders, and wellness practitioners. Today's Purist Podcast is brought to you by Mrs. Momma Bear, and I'm wearing one of their suits today. I call it the city suit. So I created this podcast to discuss the body and healing, which I'm obsessed with. Today, I'm addressing cellular health with my friend, Dr. Christina Rahm. I'm so excited to have Dr. Rahm with me today, as she's an expert in the human genome and gene expression. Dr. Christina Rahm is a patented scientist and humanitarian dedicated to advancing health, sustainability, and innovation. As CEO of her own company, she leads initiatives across the world that merge science, technology, and philanthropy. Dr. Rahm has advanced degrees in nanotechnology, pharmaceutical management, and nutrition, and she has authored 7 books. To say she's accomplished is an understatement. Welcome, Dr. Rahm. My dear friend, Dr. Christina Rahm, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you coming up all the way from Nashville.
Yes.
And I want to have a conversation about regenerative health. And you being a scientist and doctor and formulator, inventor, expert on all things genome, tell me a little bit about why we need to repair damaged cells.
So, first of all, thank you for having me here. It's always a pleasure, and I feel blessed to have you as a friend and as someone that I feel like on this journey, we're trying to do some really great things for humanity together with other people that are also amazing. So thank you so much. Your cells go under damage from the moment you're born. Your cellular health is so important because the cells talk to each other. And we know that when you get a diagnosis, for example, of cancer, or even autoimmune disorders, it really goes back to the cells and the health of the cells and what's going on. In fact, most cells diagnosed with cancer just look abnormal. And how did they get there? What caused that cell to be abnormal? And basically, it's environmental triggers, we understand now. Whether that environmental trigger is pollution from innovation, or whether it's from the water we're drinking, from the air we're breathing, even inside and not just outside, because we know the inside air actually can cause more COPD and more issues to the cellular health of the lungs. So all of it is just under attack, really. And because we have had so much innovation, it's amazing for our world. But even the things we put on our skin, even some makeup, and the clothes have microplastics, so the cells inside are really scrambling to stay clean. And really the only way you can repair those cells from a scientific perspective that I come from is you're having to really clean the inside of the body out, which is not something that you're taught traditionally in medical school or in any kind of science classes when you're in research science. You're just not taught that. We understand there's toxins. We understand those triggers cause epigenetics that cause diseases because of the basically ripping apart the cellular health. And so your first thing you have to do is really support those cells in the communication while you're cleaning out the debris inside the body. And that is a process for any human being to go through.
Yeah. So what's the best way to repair damaged cells?
So one of the best ways to repair damaged cells is to really, again, detox or clean. And I usually use a zeolite. A lot of people know I made a product called Clean Slate. Clean Spirits was another line because I wanted to get into the organs of the body. And that was even trademarked for liver metabolism and liver support. And I want to explain this to the audience because I kind of got into this yesterday in a podcast, but I didn't explain it well enough. Your liver has this P450 system, right, which influences the entire body. You have the IL-2, IL-4 pathways, and all that means is you have all these enzymes and these communication centers that are around the organs, and really a lot of it around the liver because the liver is responsible for cleaning out the body, right? And the problem is when that system isn't working, when it's had too many pharmaceuticals, or it's bogged down from the environment and from viruses and bacteria and parasites, then the cellular health becomes really, really bad. So you've got to clean out that system so that everything's working appropriately. You can't even accept nutrients until you clean that out. And that's why I really chose zeolites as a basis to do that. But I took out the silica out of the zeolite by cleaning it. People don't know this, but zeolites can actually hold on to heavy metals, just like a vitamin can or a mineral. And so you're really having to clean everything out before you even give yourself a vitamin or a mineral. And that's something that none of us have really been educated on, or very few of us have. You know, when you got married, that someone had to clean the clothes of your kids and your family, right?
Yes.
And it either had to be you or someone else that was helping you.
Yeah.
People need to understand on the inside of their body, their P450 system has to be cleaned. The cellular health has to be cleaned. And there's different ways you can do that through cold plunge and light therapies and different types of oxygen and hydrogen therapies that really do help. But day to day, also using a specific type of zeolite to help clean the body while you're also restoring those cells. Because I can't emphasize this enough, while the cell is being detoxed, what are you supplementing it with? Like, what are you giving it to make it?
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you raise your children, okay, you're making sure that they're not around bad things, but you also have to feed them and give them the good things. The cells in the body need the same thing. They are actually talking, living, breathing. If there was one thing I could teach people, it would be every cell in your body is so important. And while you're out here talking, like while we're here, inside of our body, the cells are talking. I mean, they're like people in there.
Yeah.
And they want to live, the good people, but the gangs, which are your cancer or autoimmune disorders, or the cells that are making you look older, let me just say that, they're trying to take over. So you've really got to stand up and give your body what it wants. And there's a lot of things I could go into with the black cumin seed oil, the turmeric curcumin.
Let's go through it. So we have to start by taking the trash out.
We do.
Clean the system out.
Yes.
So those methods that you mentioned earlier, those forms of cold plunge and the human regenerator machine that exists now, light therapies. I know there is something called Firefly.
Firefly's great.
That's great for eradicating parasites and all sorts of disease inherent in the body. Once you do that detox, and then while you're doing that detox, what else can you support it with? Just zeolites?
No. You need a lot of different things. And again, this goes back to making sure you choose things that you know while they've been made, that they're cleaned. Make sure they don't have GMOs. Just being organic is not enough. I tell people that because you could plant a GMO seed in organic land, or, because you're basically getting an organic seal because it's the land, air, and water. But what about the seed that's being planted? And one of the patents that I've written in the technology cleans seeds and leaves and plants out from the GMOs and the toxins, which is a lengthy process. But you need to understand you can't have everything perfect right now. Choose a company, choose products that are really going to refurbish your system inside and remediate. I use the word remediate because remediate means making it better than it was before. And I always say turmeric curcumin, black cumin seed oil, and I really mean this. These are things that get rid of parasites. They get rid of bacteria. They can get rid of viruses and fungus. So you want to give your body all those tools. And really, I lean on this list of everything from spirulina, knowing that spirulina is detoxing and also supporting the body. Turmeric curcumin, same way. We know that turmeric curcumin and black cumin seed oil can cause what's called cancer cell apoptosis. It means it can kill a cancer cell, but you got to make sure that's pure. I can't make the claim any of my products are doing it, but I know these ingredients in the past. There's been all kinds of NIH and PubMed articles written about it that we've studied. It's just not that we don't have a pharmaceutical here that does that. So you've got to pick those things. And another thing like resveratrol, which you can get in wine, you have to make sure the wine does not have the sulfas in it and all the GMOs in it as well. Or you can actually use resveratrol in a product. Aloe vera is another one that we know actually is refurbishing the body and replenishing the body. Apple cider vinegar, your omegas, your aminos, all of those are important. And I've talked about this too, the peptides. If your cells are really needing repair, then the NAD needs to give the mitochondria and the telomeres extra support. And we just had research that came out that NAD is very important, but niacin is almost just as important, which a lot of us have taken for years. But we used to think that NAD really fed the mitochondria. Now we're understanding that niacin is almost as important as the NAD. Yeah, so you'll see that latest research.
That's not NAC, N-acetylcysteine.
Yes.
That's not the same, is
Yes,
it?
it is.
It is the same,
Yes.
okay.
And I know it sounds
I took
basic.
one of those yesterday. Wasn't feeling great, and now I feel great.
Yeah, it really
does make a difference.
It makes a huge difference.
But then there's also your genes and how they express themselves and what your body actually can absorb and what it tolerates and can't tolerate. And not everybody can tolerate NAC necessarily.
No.
And I want to talk in a minute about this incredible genetic test that you've created.
Yeah.
But before we do that, how do people determine whether they need a parasite cleanse, whether they know they have a cellular breakdown?
Right.
I know not feeling well is usually the first symptom.
Yeah.
But where do you go to get tested for those things?
So that's a tricky question because in this country, we haven't traditionally tested for parasites, right?
Right.
Now when you see a commercial on television.
Very common in the rest of the world.
Yeah. Why
People do
isn't
parasite
it here?
cleanses twice a year in Europe.
I know.
I mean, it's...
Yeah. Everywhere but here.
Yeah.
And it's like we understand that animals have like hookworm or roundworm or different types of tapeworm, right? And I'm gonna say this. So if you ask me in this room or in a room where we're going to eat, how many people have some kind of parasite? I'm saying everyone in there.
Everyone in the room, 100%.
And someone asked me the other day what it looks like, and when you use the bathroom, not to get into too many details, have you ever seen anything that looks like a little rice? And now everyone's going to be looking because like hookworm, tapeworm, roundworm, which are found in most animals. So let me just say that. So how would a person get that from a dog or a cat or from an animal? Well, if they're in your house or if they're outside and you're playing with them and they've been around it and they haven't just been dewormed, because they also have worms along with the parasites, which people have as well. Raw foods like tuna.
A salad
oysters.
at the airport or when you're traveling is the worst thing to eat.
100%.
I always eat cooked foods when I travel.
Yeah. So it's in there. And so imagine, like I was telling Clayton the other day, great, we were home 70 days last year in the United States. We're flying all over the world eating sushi, eating foie gras, eating bone marrow, eating all these things that I know. Right, have it. So for me,
the trick is to come home and do a parasite cleanse.
Or to take with you different things that you know are going to help get rid black seed oil. So like we have a product called Restore that I really literally made that because I wanted to restore the body, but also because
black pepper.
I was traveling so much that I was in Malaysia and then I was in Nigeria same year. I'll never forget this. And twice saw patients with doctors that were there that they would put this turmeric, curcumin, black cumin seed oil that I had helped work on at the time on the scabs and wounds, and the parasites would just run out.
Wow.
I just have to say that.
Wow.
I'm like, and in one situation, they actually did an IV of it, which I'm not recommending at all, but medicine is done differently in these countries. And just watching the bag fill up after they were doing a transfusion and seeing the parasites for me was such an aha moment because I had worked with fluconazole, which is diflucan with fungus. And at Pfizer, they had this product, and we knew that parasites breed in fungus. If you have systemic fungal infections, which for the women out there, a lot of women do. If you have hormonal changes, if you're noticing in your daughters or in your family that there's this fluctuation, yes, it has to do with neurotransmission, but also they have Candida, and diflucan is something that's fairly safe. Not that I'm trying to authorize that. I mean, my daughter just got put on an antibiotic, and I told
feed the parasites.
Yeah. And I told the doctor, I said, please, with the antibiotic, make sure my daughter's on diflucan because I want to get rid of the fungus at the same time they're getting rid of the bacteria. But going back to the parasites, they're breeding in this. So if you have a child that's going through hormonal changes, or women through menopause, or all these different issues, then you know your fungal infection is more systemic, and that's where your parasites are breeding. So you've got to give your body the tools to get rid of that out of the body.
Yeah,
and there's all kinds of
detox the liver and the gut of the parasites so that you give your cells a fighting chance so they can regenerate when you do a detox for your cells.
Right. And at the same time, because I've had Lyme disease and I understand spider sheets and how they hide in the body, I'm trying to get rid of that too, right? That was always my focus.
Well, that's a lifelong battle.
It's a lifelong battle. I was 19, right? So for me, anytime I'm choosing something to make, like the live greens, which is spirulina, wheatgrass, chlorella, I mean, I just went broccoli, spinach, on and on. I'm looking for things that can really get rid of those environmental triggers. Understanding those environmental triggers are causing the cellular health of the body not to work out. It's increasing the inflammatory cascade. And so your body can't even get into a circadian rhythm. Like people talk about circadian rhythm, when your body has all these parasites in it.
You can't sleep. You can't function.
Because the parasites are awake.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds crazy to people.
Spirochetes activate at night.
Yeah.
I mean, they go right to these inflammatory spots in your body and wreak havoc. And you sometimes wake up in pain in the middle of the night. I usually say, go get a Lyme test.
Yeah.
Look for a parasite.
Yeah.
The spirochete is a parasite.
And when people ask me, do parasites or protozoa or do worms, can they be sexually transmitted? Well, my thing is you're in bed together. Like, I'm like, you're in bed together. It's just like if you have a dog, like the vets will tell you, if you sleep with your animals, just be careful you don't get roundworm or hookworm or tapeworm. How are you supposed to know that? I just recently said I don't want to sleep with our dog as much as I love our dog. She can sleep on the sofa by our bed because of this, and because we're seeing so many increases in different fungal infections and parasites. And this is not something that we're used to in this country, even though, in my opinion, it's been here the whole time.
And if you're eradicating the parasites, you have to eradicate the larvae too.
100%.
Because what happens is you kill a parasite and it releases its eggs, and then the cycle just persists. So which healing elements have you discovered, or do you recommend that actually get the entire parasitic cycle out of your body?
So there are some treatments with like black walnut and clove and oregano that I actually use in water.
Oil of oregano? Or?
Yeah, I actually, this hurts really bad, so I'm not recommending it to everyone. But if you're serious about this, like if I can handle it, you can handle it. You know what I mean? It's just you have to be prepared for it. It's kind of like when you go on a wellness retreat. There's different things you go through. But I actually use the oils in water when I start getting really sick. I had Lyme disease, diagnosed with psoriasis and rheumatoid arthritis.
Wow.
They thought I had meningitis. I was so sick. And so for me, I can start feeling when there's something happening, and I'm taking the products I work on. So I'm continuously taking care of myself, that I'm traveling all over the world.
Yeah.
And even when I'm on a plane for 27 hours, I understand what's happening to my body because I'm on a plane and all the radioactive waves are all around me.
Oh.
And this is making parasites and spiral sheets, right, activate. So
I don't think people realize how many,
I know.
how much radiation is on an airplane.
No, they don't.
They're worried about all these other elements, but flying can be very hazardous too.
Flying can be very like if you have a autoimmune disorder or cancer.
Is there any preventative measure when you're boarding a plane?
I take the clean slate, and believe it or not, we
Minerals.
have minerals, and we have a thing called skin defense that is for the skin, but I use it in my mouth and nose and ears. I made that during the pandemic because I had worked on a pharmaceutical project and I wanted a nutraceutical that you could use throughout the body, understanding that yes, viruses can come in through the mouth or the nose or the eyes, but also your skin is a filter as well. So I spray the seat, or I'll spray it around me, or I'll use it in my mouth before, and then I always take the clean slate. But I have to tell you, even with the things I'm taking, I'm understanding the cellular health of my body, and I know that I'm putting this pressure on my body. So how am I fixing it? And that's when I really do lean on the greens that have no GMOs in them that I know will help detox and support. And then I really lean on NAD and quercetin, which also has a niacin in it, to really protect the telomeres and the mitochondria. Because what you're really looking at is this immune system, right?
Yeah.
And if the immune system's not working, or if the parasites or the virus or the bacteria are taking over that system, then you're just not functioning.
Your system isn't functioning optimally. No. This podcast is brought to you by Mrs. Momma Bear. Finally, designer style, activewear, and comfort all in one. And it has machine washable convenience. And I love to travel with it. This material is so breathable, and it's for every day. It's wrinkle-free, pops into your suitcase, and is ready at a moment's notice for day or evening. I'm wearing it right now, and I love it. It is so nice to know that Mrs. Momma Bear is created by a busy professional woman, Lee Evans. It's for women like me that want to be more comfortable and look polished day and night. They're also providing a special discount for our Purist community, so please check out their styles at mrsmommabear.com and enter the code PURIST for 15% off your first order. That's mrsmommabear.com. And as they say at Mrs. Momma Bear, wear with love. So there's so many steps to whole body healing.
There are.
And everybody has issues. So it's good to start with a parasite test and see what's going on in your body so you can at least clear that out, clear out the candida, do the things that you can do to detox that out so that you can get to your DNA and figure out how to heal those damaged cells. So let's talk a little bit about DNA, RNA, telomeres, why telomeres are so important. You touched on NAD. I take that to give my telomeres an energetic boost. You know, I notice, I feel it happening when I do like a NAD shot, NAD shot. So tell us a little bit about what those things are, you know, just break down DNA, RNA, telomeres for everyone.
Okay. Yeah. So your DNA is so important to the overall functioning. It's basically your blueprint. And RNA basically is impacting that too. Like they really go hand in hand. It's like saying your name's Cristina Cuomo, but you're also a mother, you know, and you're also a wife. There's all these different things that work together synergetically in the body. And the issue is if one gets off track, like if your DNA is impacted by an environmental trigger, whether it's a parasite. And I don't want to forget to say this to your audience. If you get a parasitic test, make sure they also are looking at worms and protozoa and make sure that they're looking at the whole gamut. And I would recommend getting more than one because of the cycle of parasites and spiral sheets and how they hide. It's like cancer. Once you go into remission of cancer, it's still there, but you got to keep it lower and you got to keep it down. So I always recommend if you're going to look at parasitic cleanses that you do at least every 3 months for a year a parasite test, because that way you're seeing really the cycle that's going on in your body. Because we know, and I'm sure you know this, homicides and suicides during a full moon happen more, but so do the parasites activate during a full moon, right? So that you kind of got to figure out your cycle. And if you said to me, do doctors know that? Well, they know it in Nigeria and in Ghana. Like some of your tribal doctors that I've worked with 100% know that.
Circadian rhythm is your...
It impacts everything.
It's a moon cycle.
Right.
It's your body in sync with nature.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how you determine what
your
rhythm is.
Yeah. It's interesting. My education's not questioned in the United States, but where I studied internationally always is because it's with non-traditional doctors or traditional doctors in that country that treat patients differently. But for me, I want the best health care, not just... I feel like the United States has the best health care. But like now when you look us up for like cancer, it lists Germany's #1 or Australia or Dubai. And
because there's integrative medicine
because
happening.
It's integrated.
They're using Eastern and Western philosophies. It's not just science and medicine. They're incorporating these ancient philosophies that have been around for thousands of years. And by the way, have worked on, you know, in ancient tribes for those thousands of years.
100%.
So why aren't we doing more of that?
I think that because of what you and I are doing, and different people like us, we are changing things. But I do think like the DNA, like if you look at DNA and RNA, and you even look at what we've done with CRISPR, which is a way of splicing genes and really creating something just from past, like even fragments of our RNA and DNA. And for that relationship, it's almost like RNA is the transcription and the communication arm of what's going on and the cycling of what's going to happen in the body. And your parasites, again, and the fungus around them can alter that. And I want people to put it in their mind. Just think about a bunch of a fungus. So when you think about that, you're thinking about a gray matter, right? That's basically mucus based, and it's fungal, right? So it's a disgusting, energetic force that's growing and living. I just want to say that. It is
But it kills everything.
And it kills everything.
I mean, look at penicillin. It's made of mold.
Yes. So
kills
it's basically
everything.
going in and killing. In fact, when you see people in a morgue, a lot of those people, even though they went in with a viral infection or bacterial and their family doesn't know, I would be in that office. I would be in that doctor's room saying, did you put my daughter or husband on an antifungal? Understanding that the fungus is growing and it's causing the bacteria and the virus to be even worse. But the fungus may actually kill the person because it grows so quickly. And so your DNA is impacted, your RNA is impacted by that fungus. And if the parasites are there, which we know they are, then that is basically kind of setting off a bomb, and the cellular health of your body just isn't working effectively. So your steps are your detoxing, even with the water that you're in. So for example, we know that if you're in salt water, right? And we know that if you go underwater, that basically the EMFs aren't communicating because it's blocking that radiation and all of those chemicals. But we also know that it's good for the skin. If you said to me, yes, but in the salt water, there are microplastics. My thing is, I understand, but even being able to do certain things like this, knowing they're not a perfect situation, that's helping with detox. Like we know there's certain...
That's how you detox heavy metals.
Yeah.
With those baths.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those, like we know that parasites and some fungus can't live in the salt water. That's why if you look at the things I work on, it says seawater or trace minerals along with silicas and vitamins and minerals. It's because I'm cleaning that to put back into the body, understanding if you have all those trace minerals, that's impacting the P450 system and the enzymes of the body, and cleaning that so that your cellular health is cleaner. So like even...
So how does that work in a bath when you're doing that? You're soaking, there's like an osmolarity effect taking place?
Yes.
With the exchange of the salt minerals with the salt minerals in your own system, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So they're interacting and they're trying to flush out anything that shouldn't be there. And if you can get in the bath and you can put a couple of drops of clove and oregano and even an orange peel, there's certain things you can put in that will...
Smells good.
It smells great, but it's going to burn, right? So you get in really quickly in hot water that you also add Epsom salt and you add lavender. And basically you're exposing your skin, which is your largest organ, covers 80%, and it's going to impact the inside because you know it's going to go into the body. But you do it very, very quickly. And if you can't handle it, you got to get out. But I one day did that.
What's the soak? Like 10 minutes, 20 minutes for it to be most effective?
I've only been able to make it like 3 to 4 minutes, and then I get out and then I get back in, and it's red and it's splotchy.
And most people don't realize that they have heavy metals in their systems.
No. And I'm always take clean slate before I do it, but I'm getting in and I'm doing that drop in the water. I usually do it when I'm home alone, although my husband has been there before when I've done it. And he's like, oh my gosh, you're hurting yourself. But I feel immediately better within, this is going to sound crazy, within a couple of hours, I'm feeling better. And so if I get sick, like I have any kind of sinus, anything, and that is something that has always helped me because I'm understanding the oils are basically taking those toxins out. And if you can give your cells a break from just the constant almost war around them, then your immune system kicks in and you can handle things a lot better.
So the DNA we're born with is the DNA we die with. And the things that influence it over our lifetime are what really we need to keep under control and detox those negative ones that are affecting us? What percentage of the environment has an influence over our genome type?
So first of all, I disagree from most people when they talk about genomes because I think that our DNA is what we're born with, but I also think there's so many things I've seen in my career that didn't make sense, where the DNA was different after there was a test. And so I've always been just blown away by that. Like, did they have the wrong DNA test to begin with? Did it change? Did something alter it based on the environment? Understanding that almost everything in the environment can impact how our DNA communicates and RNA communicates and how it works together. Like, we didn't used to know 30 years ago or even 20 years ago that a lot of Alzheimer's or cancer or ADHD or autism is because of the environment. But listen, we can't even hide from that anymore.
No.
We know that in the 20s and 30s, women, and these are a lot of these women are vegan, have colon cancer. We understand now that there's a wound on the body that omega-3s and omega-6s especially can make grow unless we're using other things along with it to help. We didn't used to know that. We all used to think omega-6s, omega-3s, we should take as many as possible, right? So there's all these things that have come out, and scientists don't know if it's because the environment is so toxic that it's impacted all of us.
Yeah.
And this is like, these are new findings because our body cannot handle the pressure of everything that's going on with the mycoplastics, the EMFs, the mycotoxins. Like, how are we going to survive, right? They don't know if that's the change or if there's always been these factors that we've just heightened it. And I personally believe we've heightened it over the last 100 years, and we don't handle it every day, because if we did, I think it's too overwhelming for most people.
Yeah.
But for each person to deal with their own body, making sure that everything they put in their body isn't toxic is a major contributor to having positive cellular health.
So is that reversible? I mean, I was reading Dr. Andrew Weil's book, and he was talking about senescence, and this is the process of the cells multiplying 50 times over our lifespan. And then once they do that, they start to go into a slow and steady decline, which is old age. So, there's all this talk lately about vaccines, which is why I wanted to address this. And coming off of, or rather still on this COVID wave that we're on, it's caused senescence to speed up, literally. So young people no longer, some of their cells are just stopping their multiplication in their tracks, and then they're getting cancer at the age of 40. And I know the cancer rate was something like 400% increase since COVID. So how do we take preventative measures? How do we protect our cells so they don't get stopped from their growth process, so they can continue to go that full life cycle and remain healthy? Like, is there any protection for them?
Yeah, I feel like there is. I mean, if you look at my life alone, traveling to 92 countries, I've had almost every vaccine you can imagine.
Oh, wow.
I was never pro-vaccine. My children, I spaced it out over a long time. I would argue with their doctors because I understood. I worked on vaccines, right? Because I worked at Pfizer, I worked at J&J, Biogen, Alexion. I could go on and on. Great companies. But I understood that the issues with vaccines is your viruses mutate. So when you get a vaccine, if it's the flu season, for example, you don't know that it's going to work with your body. In fact, I've only done it one time, if I'm honest with people. In my entire, had the whole family do it. I was working at Biogen. We all got very sick. And I still remember one of the executives of that
after you took the flu vaccine.
We all got very sick after the flu vaccine.
Wow.
And I remember one of the major executives at that company saying, "Christina, why would you have done that? Why did you take that? You know that it's a mutation and it could just make you sick."
The guy working at the company making the vaccine
I'm not taking
doesn't take the vaccine.
No. So because it's mutate, how's it going to work? It's a different mutation, right?
And aren't there thousands of strains of flu?
Yes.
Who's to say that one vaccine that they chose, that one strain is going to prevent the flu that's coming at you?
There's nothing that's
Right.
going to say that. And then also because of my research at Bristol Myers Squibb on the clinical research side, really understanding HIV and understanding they would have these HIV parties where you would go and you had HIV and other people had HIV, so you would have a relationship. And we started understanding as a company, oh my gosh, people are dying from this because they have one mutation of HIV. They go to this party, there's another mutation of HIV. Now there's two mutations that people have, and then it becomes AIDS because you have two mutations and people are dying. So that's why I was really concerned about the current vaccines, because understanding that people's bodies can only take so many things and everybody's body's different. What about hormones with daughters? What about fertility with men? What about cardiovascular, which we knew was an issue? I was very concerned.
Taking a toll on all those things.
All those things. I was very concerned about, okay, people will be okay at first, but my biggest concern was the increase in fungus and parasites that I thought would be supercharged by this.
And scar tissue.
Yes.
In the lungs.
Horribly concerned. So then
The heart, the inflammatory response of cells around the heart apparently is a big issue with women post-COVID.
Huge impact. And so for me, I've never been a whistleblower. I've never been someone, I loved working at the companies I worked on, but understanding that I really believe that to perpetually get boosters, to keep doing this is not
It's
positive.
a death sentence.
Yeah, to our bodies. And so for me,
Well, thank you for saying that.
well, I was really surprised we did what we did. Understanding the government probably did what they thought they should do, and they didn't know what to do. From my perspective, I'm like, here's the problem.
Well, they're being pushed by big pharma. I mean, making deals, it's all about money. Why, it's not about our health.
Maybe we should stop making deals because we should start worrying about humanity.
Yeah.
So my thing is, I do think the vaccines help some people. The issue I have with it is I think other people could not handle that specific vaccine. And I think their bodies had reactions. And I think they continue to cause inflammation and issues within the body. That I'm criticized for that belief. And if you ask why, I don't know. It's my personal belief. I do have a scientific background. I did work at those companies. I don't think they tried to hurt people. I think they were trying to provide.
Yeah, but they didn't even go past the first initial clinical trial for the vaccine. I mean, they were rushing it out because of demand, perhaps.
In the past.
Or the hype that was created around the need for a vaccine for COVID.
They had done some trials in different areas of diagnosis before that at different companies, and the results were not as anticipated. It's because in other disease states, when they were using that, there were things that were happening that were not positive. And I think the overall process that they were thinking was, if we release this, then maybe we'll help more people than what would happen if we didn't. From my perspective, I just wanted them to hit herd immunity, which was easy to hit, in my opinion. But again, for the people that have had issues, one of the reasons I made Clean Slate was because I had so many vaccines, and I understood with spiral sheets from Lyme disease and with cancer that anytime you're giving a foreign substance to the body that's lowering the immune system or surrounding a cell with a virus, because you have to understand your vaccines are either viruses or they're simulating a virus, right? So anytime you're doing that, then the immune system is under attack. So the issue is, if you've had Lyme disease like me, or cancer, what are you doing to get all this stuff out? And so really...
Well, let's talk about your journey then, because that is really the most informative, helpful way I think people can find their own path. You experienced, you're a mother, you have 4 kids, a researcher, healthcare entrepreneur, and you've seen every evolution of every pharmaceutical drug, and you have a lot to offer in that way too. So the culmination of all your experience has really been incredible to read about, to be your friend, just to listen to you speak. You're just full of wonderful information, but more extraordinarily is that you really went through a lot of physical trauma. You had a brain tumor, you had cancer 4 times, and Lyme disease. And this is all starting at a very young age. You were 19 when you first had Lyme? Probably, set your body up for the failures that followed, right?
Yeah.
You dug yourself out of that.
Yeah.
And that is a testament to your abilities, not just your knowledge base.
Thank you.
Tell me about that journey of to good health.
So I think this will help your audience. I think it's important. So I'm glad you asked the question. It is a continuous journey for me. It's interesting. People will see my social media or something that we've posted and say, like, Christina looks really tired. Well, sometimes I am tired. Or her hair color doesn't look great. I'm like, well, sometimes it isn't great. But when it comes to really what matters to me, it's how I feel, right? Because one of the gifts I have gotten from being sick for so long and so many years is it doesn't really matter what people think about me. It matters how I'm living, and then I get to raise my grandkids and I got to raise my children. And so for that, I made a lot of different formulations and supplements. I also worked on pharmaceuticals, as you know, to try to really help my overall health. And I understood with Lyme disease, I was exposed later. So think about this. I get Lyme disease. I'm 19. I later work at Pfizer and I work at J&J and Bristol Myers. And so I'm being exposed. Like, doctors are talking about Lyme disease. Whereas when I was 19, no one even knew what it was.
No.
And then I started getting information and understanding that antibiotics could help with some of the symptoms, and with Lyme disease, antifungals could help.
So you went down that road
I
first.
went down that road first.
A rabbit hole.
If you ask me, I still use a combination of that because I understand the good and the bad of antibiotics, the good and the bad of antifungals. I also understand that turmeric curcumin can kill fungus and can kill a bacteria and can kill a virus, even though a lot of people
take that every day, folks.
Me, I take it every day.
Every day.
Everybody, even though most people would look at me and say, "What do you mean?" Because it's not a pharmaceutical, right? So I have had the luxury of using both. So on my personal journey, I'm continuously giving my body the tools to fight whatever's happening, understanding that I don't have to get every vaccination that's out there. This is my body.
Yeah, and saying to yourself, why hasn't someone created this in a formula?
I know. Yeah. And then
you were building the blocks to get to that point.
I was sitting there thinking, I remember saying to Clayton, I need to get into people's hands something to help them with depression and anxiety, something that's really going to help restore the body back to how it should be, but something that's really going to clean the body, to get rid of the things that I knew were going to become even worse in our world. And I feel like we've had great results. We never tell people we're going to cure them, but giving them the tools, whether they're the tools we've made or someone else has made, are important, starting with your skin. And I'm just going to say that again. And your skin has to be protected.
Yeah.
So like the peptide line I worked on, I think is really important. I don't think anyone should use the same skincare line constantly on their skin, just so everyone knows. And of course, that goes against me having a line that I help produce. But like, really, you should have 7 or 8 to 9 to 10 different things that you're alternating, right? Because you've got to be smarter than any virus, bacteria, parasite, or fungus. You've got to be smarter than that. So I want the whole audience to know that's the true secret to getting better or staying better, in my opinion, is understanding viruses are very smart. Bacteria is really smart. Parasites want to live, and so they will want the fungus to live, right?
So clean beauty all the way.
All these things are going in your body wanting to take over. So you have to understand, I'm smarter. I'm going to give my body the tools, and I'm going to switch them up, because that's what scientists did with HIV. They were able to do these cocktails of different things that would keep the HIV down. And now people can live with HIV their whole life till they're 90, right? Because they're switching it up. So take that same philosophy, use natural products that you understand can help your body and your cellular health and protect the immune system. And that way, when it comes under attack, because it is every day, then you are giving it different tools to switch up, but they're never exactly the same, because you've got to give it a break and then restart it. Otherwise, the virus becomes so smart, they've got you. It's kind of like a trick, like, oh, I've got you. I know what you're doing. So now I'm going to win, because the overall goal of all those things we just discussed is to take over the host, which is you. And
so you got to be your own best doctor.
You got to be your best doctor.
You got to recognize the symptom and address it. And so you know how you feel. That's
or how
the first
you even
step.
Look. Like for your friends and for you, just so you know, for your skincare, you want your skin to look its best. So you may notice, I use a skincare and it's so great. But then you add like one more step or you take one step away. If you'll notice, your skin looks better too when you do that, because your skin, again, you're tricking everything so that you look better and you feel better. That's my secret to being here today, because you said 4 times cancer. The truth is, I have squamous, basal cell cancer, melanoma. I've had pituitary tumor, syringomyelia. I'm fine, but I'm constantly keeping the cancer cells down. And again, when I give myself these different things, I feel great about what I'm doing.
How often do you detox?
So I detox on a regular basis, so almost a daily basis, but I will take, like from Clean Slate, a break of like a week or 2. I will be honest, I start feeling not as great, and then I'll start taking it. And another thing for me, it's, usually 10 drops in the morning or 10 at night. But if I have something on my skin, or if I start getting sick, I do a lot more than that. And then I'm adding the clean spirits because I understand the organs need it. That's not my advice to everyone, but that is what I do. So I'm not always taking the same regimen of Clean Slate and Clean Spirits. I'm mixing it up in the same way with the NAD that we have and the peptides that we have. I'm really trying to get the body to be smarter than any virus or bacteria that's inside my body.
And the peptides help with our telomeres, our energy source.
They give you extra strength as a building block. So I think peptides are extremely important. But anyone that takes peptides or NAD, I just want to say this, make sure they're clean, because they hold on to heavy metals, they hold on to toxins. So the issue I have sometimes with injections or IVs is you've just got to make sure that those were cleaned. I'm not as much pro IV, just so everyone knows, because of the scar tissue that can happen with NAD or with peptides. The small shots, your injections are better than your IVs, because the IVs can cause scar tissue that can impact your body.
So this is systemic detoxification that we're talking about. And you touched earlier on mental health.
Yeah.
Once you go through that process of a detox, your neurotransmitters start to align. They start to release in a normal fashion. Dopamine being this very crucial neurotransmitter that we need, that is in constant congruency with our gut. That's our brain body health, right? So that's all very important, is to keep the machine functioning optimally. So your mental health improves when you are cleaning out your cellular
100%.
Toxins, right? You're taking out the trash. It will really help your cognition.
It will really help. And I hope that mothers out there that have children understand that, because there's such an increase in depression and anxiety. So cleaning that out, cleaning the microbiome out, giving, again, greens and pre and probiotics to the stomach are so important. But also, we know now there's a depletion in the dopamine and serotonin. So an adaptogenic or nootropic is much better than a pharmaceutical product for ADHD or for adults or for children. ADHD and autism, we understand there's a fungal bacterial component. We also understand that the neurotransmitters aren't working. So using small doses of pine bark or velvet bean or L-theanine, L-arginine, curcumin, turmeric, which I put into any adaptogenic I work on, because again, I'm trying to touch throughout the body what's going on so that you can increase productivity.
And that'll boost your liver too.
100%.
Which is working so hard to detox all those parasites and fungus out, right?
Right. 100%.
You need that support.
You needed the support. I mean, we were even able to put on our clean spirits that it detoxifies the liver and metabolizes in the liver, which was huge to be able to say that.
So there's so much talk now about the FDA eradicating color dyes from our food system. And thank God the conversation's taking place now. I noticed very early on with one of my children, when her teacher said, you know what, she might have ADHD, you might want to get her tested. So before I went and got a sake eval, I went and had an allergy test done, and it determined that she was allergic to red and blue dyes.
I am too.
And that was causing this reaction in her brain.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't tell a 10-year-old to not eat those red or whatever blue M&Ms or whatever you know, all the candy coated things that are out there. And it's really became like an obsession of mine how shocking so many food sources use those dyes. So I know the conversation is happening in our Zeitgeist right now, but that was just my own experience. Can you explain the damage that those dyes have on our overall health?
Yeah.
Not just our brains.
Yeah, I'm allergic to those dyes as well. In fact, I would say almost everyone's allergic to those dyes because they're producing a toxin, which basically is a poison to the brain and into the overall body. And if you ask me why we're giving this to our children, why we're able to buy this, I have no idea. It's kind of like the sunscreen, right, that most people are using that has toxins that can actually contribute to cancer. Well, then why are we using that sunscreen? And I think we've lapsed in our judgment, this is my personal opinion, to approve things that maybe are cheaper or that people want to make money from. And I think we've got to go back and care as a society, as humanity, as politicians, as business people, and just demand that we don't have these things in our food. They don't allow those in like the UAE. They don't allow those over in Europe.
Yeah.
And if you ask me what happened here, one of the things that happened, in my opinion, is that our scientists helped produce GMOs, which at the time during World War II, was helping feed people. But what we didn't realize is we just gave basically chemicals and molecules into our food that made them grow, but also had side effects that could cause things like cancer, right? And we didn't realize that GMOs travel. We understand that a virus may travel, but we're not understanding that GMOs can travel, that were made by nanobiotechnologists like me. I went back to school to figure out how to get rid of them. That was my goal, because I'm like all of these things growing up on a farm with food, seeing the glyphosates everywhere, understanding the pesticides, understanding what's really happening.
The industrial food revolution, that's what happened.
But we got to, as mothers, Christina, we've got to reverse that. I'm sure I've done a lot of things in my career that people don't think were copacetic in every area, but this is one that I will put my name behind, because if we don't clean up our food, then we are in trouble as humanity, and not just in the United States, but everywhere. So again, you go anywhere in this country and eat something, and then you evaluate it for the vitamins and the minerals, and it's not what you think it is. And that's why we've got to make some changes, and we can and we will.
Well, you're a nutritionist, and I went and got my nutrition certification because I want to be my own best doctor. I want to know how to address the issues in our food supply. And I think that there's been a huge increase in people pursuing that as a career now, which is, I actually was really happy to see that. Every mother should get a certification. 100%. I feel like it's a qualification that you need if you're going to get pregnant. But your CV is so impressive. It's a mouthful. And when you talked about your second doctorate degree in strategic science and with postdoc work in nanobiotechnology and bioscience engineering from Harvard, what are those things and why were they important for you to do?
So actually, it was a 3-year graduate certification from their medical science department. And I don't know if they still even carry that. I know they still have the classes, but mine was in nanobiotechnology and bioscience engineering. And I was traveling all over the world. So some of the classes were in person. The lab was in person. And the other ones, you were actually in a classroom with the other students, but you would get a pass because you were traveling. Like I would be in Malaysia or Nigeria or Ukraine or Russia or wherever. And I really enjoyed it. If you made below, I think, a 95, you were kicked out. I got to come up with a new vaccine. And I was the only one in the class that used natural ingredients to come up with the vaccine. I got to work on a Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ALS study to try to help with that. And that's how I found out about the fungus and the parasites. So I got to do the clothing, lots of great projects there where you had very hard people critiquing you. One of my professors was a Nobel Peace Prize winner. CRISPR, one of the guys taught our class. So it was really interesting. And then I went back to Cornell, but those were certifications in nutrition. I'm like you. I went to school to learn all these things. No one even talked to me about nutrition. And at Cornell, if anyone wants to take classes there, they are online, and they weren't that hard, but they were fantastic because they taught me things that you would think I would know, but I didn't know about nutrition. And Harvard opened a whole new world for me. The 3-year graduate certification was a lot of work, and I'm very thankful I did it. And there was only one purpose, and the whole purpose was I've worked on vaccines. I've worked on different projects scientifically throughout the world. How do we get rid of some of the toxins we put in this world? Not criticizing any of the scientists that have tried to make innovation happen, because we've needed that. But I had an understanding that if we don't reverse some of these things, It doesn't matter about the Moon Project or the Mars Project because most of us are going to die, right? Unless we handle it. And no one wants to hear that.
All of us are going to die.
Yeah. No one wants to hear that I said
just a
that.
matter of how and when.
Yeah, we're all going to die.
How hard we want to fall.
but for me, our children should have good food. Your child and my child should not be able to go pick up an M&M that's toxic for them and eat it. And if you say that's too much to ask, I'm like, as a mother, that is not too much to ask. As a citizen of this country, that is not too much to ask. We've got to make some changes. Yeah.
So understanding our genetic makeup is kind of the root of it all. What's going on inside of our bodies, genetic testing, epigenetics, the study of our genes has become a mainstay conversation amongst people who are interested in their health and wellness. And you've created a genetic test, and I wanted to bring it today because I love it so much, and it's so simple and so easy and so cost effective. I remember when I did my genetic testing a few years ago, it was, several $1,000s. You had to go to the doctor, you had to pay for that appointment and then pay for the follow-up. And then it was just a huge undertaking just to learn what genes I have or don't have and how I should influence them for the positive. So you created this genetic test with the Root Brands, which is your company. I love it. It comes with these 2 swabs and an envelope to send it back and a full set of instructions, which is really simple. 1, 2, 3 steps, right? You send it back to the lab. It takes 4 to 6 weeks. You get it back and it tells you about your genetic makeup. On your website, DRCGX, you provide DNA-tailored nutrition and exercise programs, replacing a one-size-fits-all model. This new test not only analyzes health and performance, but it reveals insights into muscle building, cardiovascular fitness, fat burning. I know that's a big subject for people today, and how to control their weight and nutrient utilization. We need to know the methylation process of our cells and what our body can sustain, what our cells, what our DNA can sustain and not. So in layman's terms, can you talk a little bit about what all that means?
So what it means is you really should have a guidebook to your body. So when you go buy a car, you have in your car in the glove box, it tells you how to work your car, right? How to turn left, how to turn right, how to turn the music on. We don't really have those for our body. You would think that we came to this world with this this book, right, to tell our moms how to really handle everything in our lives and how to handle our health care.
And we can't fully rely on our autonomic nervous system to do everything.
No. And so this was something that I feel like is important for every child or every human to have as a baseline. I do like taking these kinds of tests more than once because I've always found it interesting if you see a change. And usually that's based on something that you have to really dig into to find what caused that change. Mm-hmm. And typically, it can be positive if you have someone that's truly working on their health and on detoxification. But looking at everything together is so important. Isolating things to find the root cause of what's causing bad things in your life is harder. You can isolate after you look at everything cumulatively. But I love this because I feel like it gives you and your doctor and any health coach you have really a blueprint about what's going on because your body is different. Based on your genetics, you do sleep differently. Based on your genetics, you should work out differently. You should have different nutrients. There's things you can process, there's things you can't. And I think that is so significant to understanding overall what you can achieve because you've got this one life, right? People have different beliefs. Some people think we have reincarnation. My grandmother always told me, you will be back because she believes in reincarnation. I don't know the answers to everything. I only know what I'm living today. And as a scientist, I do have opinions on those things. But for your body now, what you're living, you should have a test like this. And I have not seen another test. One of the reasons this was put together is you have these like $2,000 tests, $3,000 tests, but it's not really giving you a summary of your endocrine or your vascular system. And scientifically, this really does give you a full viewpoint on what you can metabolize, what you can't, what you should take, what you shouldn't take, how you should sleep, how you should eat, everything that's going on during the day. It even gives you insights to your skin because of how your nutrients are metabolized. Because again, that impacts not just the inside of the body, but the outside of the body. And when people say like you've got good genes, you do because you're beautiful and you're
you.
No, you're beautiful. but also you're taking care of yourself. So I like to say this to people. Genes are one thing, but there's another side to that too. It means that you have to take care of your body if you really want to look okay, if you want to look healthy, if you want to look like your skin's beautiful, your hair's beautiful, and that is a fact. That's not something that's just genetic. That's something you also do to take care of your body. And this is one of the tests that can help you do that.
So you touched on spirituality, which is my favorite subject.
It's my favorite subject. So, yeah.
So I'm going to ask you this. So, yeah, our souls are what pass along, through time. And we've been given these bodies that we have to essentially protect and feed and nourish. That also plays into our soul and how, if we're feeling good, it's stimulating and fostering the best in us. It enables us to be our best selves in so many ways, right? As a scientist and a doctor and someone who has spent, the majority of your life focused on root causes, hence the title of your one of your many books. What do you see as the connection between our spiritual essence, and the cellular, the genetic makeup that we've been given, our DNA?
I think spirituality guides everything. We're just energy. We're frequencies. And somebody asked me one time, could they ever use human energy to power different things? And I'm like, 100%. We have more energy than anything. Like, we are more valuable, which I wish people would understand. Your body is more valuable than any kind of energy level, right? In a world right now where we've been worried about hydrogen and gas and oil, we understand that those have a scarcity, but we're not realizing that we could extinguish out as well. And we have to protect our energy, our frequency source. We know that our cells talk. So whoever we're around impacts our lives, not just how we feel, but how we look. So I'd like people just to think about that for a second. Yes, this is a fact. Your cells energetically talk. So who you're around impacts how you look, how you feel, who you are. And I believe we come from multiple lives and multiple spiritual experiences. And people argue with that. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee, so we're the Bible Belt of the world. And I've worked with so many different religions. And I just know that God loves me. And I know that He brought me here for a purpose. And that all the things, all the past lives or all the energy things that I've gone through spiritually, my goal is to heal, help, and love, but also be strong and be a warrior when I need to. And I feel like that was passed down generationally, probably from my great-great-great-great-grandmother or grandfather. And so I'm very thankful for the lives I've lived. This is my opinion before here, whether it was in heaven or another planet or whether it was here. I believe that we're a combination of energy and we have a legacy inside of ourselves. So while we're here, we have to leave the legacy we're supposed to. And that includes doing negative things sometimes, learning from our mistakes, becoming better as individuals. All of that impacts our healthcare as well. So I'm always careful when I say this. But yes, I think there's ties to different things genetically. I believe in microprinting. I believe in the imprint of our families and our DNAs into our life. And I think we have to try to break that sometimes in order to be healthier.
I talk to my doctor often about generational trauma.
Yeah.
And she's Iranian and she spends a lot of time working through that. Do you think that, as you mentioned, compassion, humility, gratitude, do you think those are elements that those are the pathways to healing the generational trauma?
I do. I think that you can't go back and correct a mistake that maybe you were a part of or maybe you weren't. It doesn't matter at that point. It's irrelevant. So I think through kindness and love and through caring and through energetically, really karma, right, doing the right thing, it impacts your life. I think some of us have health problems because of probably other things that have occurred through our genetics as well as through imprinting. But I also think we can correct those through our actions, and not just our actions, through basically what we're feeling and thinking inside, because that has a frequency. So whatever you think or feel actually has a frequency that can impact the endorphins and even a P450 system in a body. And that's something not many people talk about. But for me, taking my combination of my education in psychology and science, I clearly see that. And I see it from all the different countries that I've been blessed to work in get to see different ceremonies, I've gotten to see different religious, basically, developments, and it all goes back to this. Spiritually, we are this energetic ball of frequency, and we can impact anything positively. We have to decide to do it, and we have to make those changes. And I believe that's what's kept me here, to be honest.
Frequency and sound, and just listening to you, I feel better.
Thank you.
What is P450?
P450 are the enzymes in the system around the liver and in the body that metabolize different pharmaceuticals, but also metabolize different things like a turmeric, like how the body's interacting. And that system really, in my opinion, it needs to get more credit than it has, because like when we develop a molecule or a pharmaceutical product, we have to make sure it works in that system and that it's communicating right. And so for me, that's kind of one of the energy controls of the body with enzymes that really kind of put its feelers out and control the rest of the body.
Wow, your energy and your light are so prevalent. I hope everyone can see it and feel it listening to Dr. Rahm. She's not just talking the talk, she's walking the walk and creating these healing pathways for us. So check out her website too, therootbrands.com, which is one of my favorite websites to go to and learn from, just on an educational level. Really impressive. And thank you so much for sharing all of your regenerative healing paths that you've been on. And the journey is extraordinary.
I want to put you on my podcast because I want people from all over the world to see you.
Oh,
I know you have so many followers here and so many people adore what you're doing, and your energy is so amazing. Mm-hmm. So I hope we do more and more things together.
Thank you, Dr. Rahm. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rahm, for sharing your knowledge and insights with me and our Purist community. You can find more information about Dr. Rahm's products and books at drchristinarahm.com and at therootbrands.com. And again, a special thank you to our sponsor, Mrs. Momma Bear. This easy-to-care-for suit is a staple in my wardrobe. Please check out their styles at mrsmommabear.com. Remember, at Purist, we share what matters most, your health, and that of your loved ones, so that you can find strength, equilibrium, peace of mind, laughter, and love in your life. Check out our website at thepuristonline.com. Please don't forget to like or subscribe to the Purist Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple at the Purist Podcast. I'm Cristina Cuomo. Until next time, be well.